The day my HOA president made me climb onto my roof with a jeweler's loupe to inspect one discolored brick was the day something inside me finally snapped. It was late August in Georgia, 96 degrees in the shade, and I was 20 feet above my driveway, sweating through a t-shirt while Marlene Pike stood below me in a white sun hat, holding binoculars. "Third course from the top," she shouted. 2 bricks left of the vent pipe. I squinted. There it was, a brick maybe half a shade darker than the rest. "Marlene, that's not damage. That's just the color of the clay." She lowered the binoculars. "Mr. Carter, what you call the color of the clay is what the covenants call inconsistent exterior presentation." I almost laughed. "You're fining me over a brick. $300 a day after Friday. That stopped being funny. My name is Ben Carter. I'm 38, I design industrial control systems, and I bought my little house in Briar Glen because I wanted quiet. I wasn't looking for a fight. In fact, I'd spent 4 years being the guy who never fought anybody. Trash cans inside by 6. Fine. Mailbox paint had to be heritage black. Fine. Grass between 2 and 3 inches? Ridiculous, but fine. Then Marlene became HOA president. Within 6 months, she turned the neighborhood into a museum exhibit where nobody was allowed to breathe on the glass. Kids got warning letters for chalk drawings. A retired nurse was told her birdbath encouraged unmanaged wildlife congregation. And now Marlene had found my brick. The chimney wasn't damaged. One brick had a natural iron streak in it, something I had never noticed until she noticed it for me. I hired a mason named Curtis Hall to inspect it. Curtis climbed up, cleaned it, checked the mortar, then came down shaking his head. "Ben, that's baked into the brick. Nothing wrong with it. Can you make it lighter?" "Sure, if you want me to remove it." "How much?" "By the time I scaffold it, cut it out, match the mortar. Probably $1,500. For one brick." He shrugged. "You asked." I got a signed statement saying the chimney was structurally sound and the discoloration was natural, then sent it to Marlene. 2 days later, she appeared on my porch. I reviewed the contractor's note, and the brick remains visible. I stared at her. That was the whole point of the note. The board isn't disputing safety. We're disputing appearance. "So what exactly do you want me to do?" She smiled. "Enclose the upper chimney in an approved architectural shroud." "You want me to box in a brick chimney because one brick is darker?" "It would create a cleaner roofline. It would also make the fireplace unusable unless I redesign the venting." "Then redesign the venting." There are moments when anger comes in hot. This wasn't that. This anger came in cold. I looked at Marlene, then at the chimney. "All right." She blinked. "All right. I'll enclose it, but I'll need active ventilation." She waved a hand. "As long as the enclosure is black and matches your shutters, I don't care what you put inside it." I smiled. "Could you email me that?" She did. That night, I read every page of the HOA bylaws. At 1:17 in the morning, I found Section 8. 6. Residential mechanical systems. Homeowners were permitted to inspect and test ventilation equipment, including temporary visible vapor used for airflow verification, provided the vapor was non-toxic, non-flammable, and left no lasting residue. I read it twice. Then I laughed so hard my dog left the room. The next morning, I called my friend Nate Holloway, a commercial HVAC contractor who had once been fined by the same HOA because his work van was too blue. "Nate, I need a favor." "What kind?" "I need to hide my chimney." "That's stupid." "I know. And then I need to make it breathe like a dragon." There was a pause. "I'm listening." By Friday, Nate had built a sleek black enclosure around the chimney, exactly as Marlene requested. From the street, it looked expensive and painfully tasteful. Inside, he ran a dedicated duct into my attic, where we connected it to a theatrical atmospheric generator normally used for fire rescue training. Not smoke. Water-based stage vapor, non-flammable, non-toxic, and powerful enough to make a warehouse disappear. Nate stared at the machine. "Ben, this thing can fill a stadium tunnel. I only need a cul-de-sac." He grinned. "We should be ashamed." We should. We were not. Saturday morning, Marlene was hosting the Briar Glen Summer Excellence Luncheon in her backyard. Around 11:30, 30 or 40 people gathered under white umbrellas while she gave a speech about standards, stewardship, and protecting the character of our community. From my office window, I watched her point toward my roof. She was showing off the enclosure. Her victory. I put my hand on the control switch. She raised a champagne glass. To a neighborhood we can all be proud of. I whispered, to airflow. Then I pushed the button. For the first few seconds, nothing happened. Then a thick white plume rolled out of the chimney enclosure, climbed about 12 feet, hit the humid air, and folded downward like a wave. It spilled across my roof, my yard, then the street. Someone screamed, "Is that smoke?" Marlene stood up so fast her chair flipped over. The vapor moved through the hedge and into her backyard. Guests vanished one by one. A man in salmon-colored shorts stumbled out holding a plate of shrimp like it was a life raft. Someone yelled, "Where's Diane?" Another voice answered, "I'm Diane." Then Marlene's voice cut through everything. "Ben Carter." I stopped the machine after 90 seconds. That was enough. The whole end of the street looked like a weather system had taken a wrong turn. 5 minutes later, a fire engine arrived, followed by a patrol car. The fire captain walked up my driveway carrying a thermal camera. "Sir, are you the homeowner?" "Yes." "Do you have a fire?" "No." He looked at the fog. "Then what am I looking at?" "Ventilation testing." His face didn't change for about 3 seconds. Then one corner of his mouth twitched. Marlene stormed out of the mist behind him, hair flattened, sunglasses fogged. "Arrest him." He released chemicals into my luncheon. The captain looked at me. "What is it?" I handed him the safety sheet. "Water-based theatrical vapor." He read it. "Non-flammable." "Correct." "Non-toxic." "Correct." Officer Lane, the patrolman, rubbed his forehead. "Ben." "Why?" I pointed at the chimney. "Because the HOA required me to enclose a functioning chimney, and the bylaws permit visible vapor during mechanical airflow testing." Marlene nearly choked. "That is not what the rule means." I pulled a printed copy from my pocket. Section 8.6. She snatched it, read it, then looked at me. "You planned this." I complied. "You humiliated me. You fined me $300 a day over a brick." The fire captain made a sound that might have been a cough. Marlene turned on him. "Tell him he cannot do this again." The captain looked at the equipment. "I'm not seeing a fire code issue." Officer Lane shrugged. "HOA matter, ma'am." That was the first time I saw Marlene look scared, because she realized I had stopped playing defense. I told her I was willing to stop the system under one condition: permanent written approval of the original chimney, including the darker brick, with no future aesthetic citation related to color variation. She stared at me. "You're blackmailing the board." "No. I'm offering a mechanical solution to an administrative problem." Officer Lane looked away because he was smiling. Marlene signed the variance that afternoon. But that wasn't the end. 2 weeks later, she tried to amend the rules and classify theatrical vapor as a hazardous emission. I showed up to the board meeting with the manufacturer's safety documentation, the fire department's report, and 40 neighbors who had suddenly become interested in HOA governance. A man named Russell stood and said, "If we're banning glycol, are we banning deodorant too?" Someone laughed. Then another homeowner asked why Marlene had spent almost $9,000 of association money on legal letters during her first 7 months. That changed the room. The meeting stopped being about me. It became about her. People started talking about selective enforcement, intimidation, fines nobody could explain, and rules applied differently depending on whether Marlene liked you. For years, people had paid whatever she demanded because fighting seemed exhausting. That night, they finally stopped being tired. A recall vote was scheduled. Marlene lost by 27 votes. I thought that would be the satisfying ending. It wasn't. The satisfying ending came in October. By then, the new board had rescinded most of the ridiculous enforcement policies. Kids were playing basketball again. Somebody painted their front door blue just because they could. And my chimney? The black enclosure was gone. The original brick was back in full view, including the darker one. Brick number 287. I know because Marlene had made me count them. On Halloween night, the neighborhood held its first community block party in years. The new board asked if I could provide some atmosphere. So I called Nate. We pulled the vapor machine out of storage, ran it at low output, added orange lights under the eaves, and turned my front yard into the best haunted house on the street. Kids ran through glowing fog. Parents took pictures. Even the fire captain showed up with his family. Around 8, I noticed Marlene standing at the edge of the sidewalk. For a second, neither of us spoke. Then she looked at the chimney. I still think that brick is ugly. I laughed. Yeah, I kind of love it now. She shook her head. You made me look like a fool. I thought about that. No, Marlene. I think you did that part yourself. She didn't answer. She just watched the kids running through the fog. Then, after a long pause, she said, Do you have any candy left? I handed her a full-size chocolate bar. One per resident. Community standard. She actually laughed. And that's where I'd like to tell you everything changed. Everyone learned a lesson, and Briar Glen became perfect. It didn't. People still argue. Rules still matter. Some neighbors still think I went way too far and turned a stupid disagreement into a public spectacle. Maybe they're right. Because if I'm being fair, I didn't just defend myself. I wanted Marlene to feel what it was like to have somebody use rules against her. And once I realized I could, I enjoyed it. So here's the question I still wrestle with. When someone abuses a little bit of authority over and over, do you owe them patience forever? Or is there a point where malicious compliance becomes the only language they understand? If you were in my place, would you have paid to replace the brick, taken the fines to court, or done exactly what I did? Tell me in the comments, because I know people are going to be split on this one. And if you've ever dealt with an HOA president, boss, landlord, manager, or anyone else who confused a rulebook with a crown, tell me what finally made you push back. Subscribe if you like stories where the person everyone expects to fold finally stops folding. Because sometimes the quietest person in the neighborhood is only quiet until you give them a reason not to be.